All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Just Noise podcast. Today I am joined again with my partner in crime, Logan Purdue. Logan, what's going on, my man?
Not much. How's it going, man?
And it's just another night here, just ready to hang out, bullshit, and talk with our guests. So
Hell
tonight
yeah.
we've got a longtime friend of ours. He's been playing in some local bands throughout the years. He's done some fill-in work. I would refer to him as the mercenary here. Another playful name, aka the Colfax Kid. Please welcome
I
my
knew that was
friend
coming.
Josh Lester.
I knew that was coming.
Got him. What's going
Sure.
on, dude? How you doing tonight?
Oh, hey, I'm doing good. Just got home just a little bit ago and did some yard work, and now I'm doing this.
Yeah, dude. Loving the gear behind you.
Oh yeah, it's my overwhelming wall and collection of stuff.
Your children.
I'm actually sitting on 2 amps right now. That's my chair right now.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I guess let's jump right into it. Where did you get your start in like music? Like kind of, I think you've talked to me about this before because we were talking about being from small towns, but
Yeah, oh definitely.
picking
So
up guitars and stuff.
sure. So
Yeah.
I don't come from a musical background whatsoever. Um, yeah, like I said, small town Colfax, Iowa. I think the population at the time of me living there was like 1,500 at best. I don't know. But I was a very, very young age, so some people know this little fact and little story, but there's a movie from late 80s called La Bamba that was about Richie Valens, Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and that. And, it was from Richie Valens' perspective of becoming a musician and, you know, and basically exploding it in popularity and success at a very, very young age. And I latched to that and I got the, interest in playing guitar. And um, my parents put me in lessons when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I just kind of kept going with it. Yeah, so that's kind of where that start was, and
What I guess so I mean obviously did lessons and stuff and picked up on that, but
yeah,
I guess
I
what led you into like getting into like heavier music and deciding that was the path that you wanted to lean towards, I
sure.
guess. I guess
So
leading from then.
I didn't always like heavy music. Like
Right.
partially being like I have an older brother, lived on the other side of the wall from me growing up, and he'd wake up and just obnoxiously blare Slipknot on his stereo and things like that. So like it'd be annoying first thing in the morning, and then I liked classic rock and things like that, and then it eventually, as time progressed, I think with a lot of people, it just gets a little heavier and a little heavier, and your friends listen to this band and think, oh, that's kind of cool. I guess I kind of like that, and it just kind of bled into it.
Hell
And
yeah.
your
That's
your
awesome.
brother never played guitar, or nobody in your house,
No,
or
God, no. There's no way.
well, that's
That's
cool that
cool.
you were the trailblazer for your family there. So
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's just funny because it makes me wonder, like, what else if I didn't do that from a young age, like, what else I would do? Because like I wasn't into sports, wasn't a video gamer. Like this has kind of been my really and only and main hobby I've kind of had all over the years.
you
Legos
discovered
for
tube
adults.
amps, and then he just ran. Yeah.
Kinda, a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was always, I went to, my dad would always get tickets and take us to the fair and see concerts in the grandstand all the time. That I was always so honed in on whatever group we were seeing and the guitar player and like, okay, how do they get to sound that big? How do they, how does all that work? And I would always pay attention to that stuff, and it just kind of came with me throughout my life. You know, and at starting guitar at such a young age, I always kind I was I was kind of a gear guy too, like from a very young age, and did everything I could to earn money to buy my next thing, and like I always kind of kept after so many years like some sort of I guess equity in my equipment. So like I always was always buying, selling, and trading from like a young age
Hmm.
up to still now. It's been a while since I bought a piece of gear, um,
You couldn't
but yeah,
tell.
yeah, I know.
Well, fuck yeah,
That's
dude. That's
fun.
really exciting. So, was there a specific band or anything that really made you, like he was saying, like Logan was asking, what geared you towards metal? Was there a specific band that made you want to play that style
Well,
that you
yeah,
eventually
because
came into?
it was um I think it was it was Avenged Sevenfold. That was another one my brother started playing because like I liked the guitar work that was in a lot of it. Because like okay, these like dual lead harmony things like that's cool. Like how are they doing that? Like I'd want to do that, and it just gradually started progressing that way. And then some of the friends that I had in school that kind of already listened to that kind of stuff, you know, something to talk about, something to listen to on the bus, a lot of times you'd sit next to somebody on the bus and share earphones. One would listen to the left side, and
Hmm.
one would listen to the right side. And discovering a lot of music kind of that way. Everybody still had CDs and like Walkmans in their backpacks.
That's how I discovered heavy music, was exactly what you're saying, on the bus with my best friend sitting there, and he's like, "Check this out," and yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
and
like
then
that.
I
That's pretty cool.
and then like I always kind of and then it just kind of progressed. And playing guitar, I always wanted to do the band thing, but like I've watched a lot of your guys' podcasts, and like I don't have like small town Colfax, Iowa, 20, 25 miles away. You I what you had to do there was basically walk from one end of town to the other. Basically it. There wasn't a bunch of people in the surrounding area that, play guitar or are musicians or were into the same stuff. So like trying to get a band started from like a really, really early, like I'd say like high school age was like impossible. You had the guy that could somewhat play an instrument, and then your friends like, oh well, you're my friend, so I guess you can try and play bass or something like that.
Hmm.
And God forbid, no one drums.
That's
Or the
impossible to
one the
find.
one kid that's good in school, it drums is occupied doing something else.
Hmm. Or not into metal or something
Or
like
not.
that. Like yeah.
It's
Hmm.
more the latter, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what you run into with small towns for sure. It's like where I grew up, where I live, even I live there now still, is like there's not even a police force here. Like it's just the county sheriff patrols the town like a couple times
Yep.
a day.
Yeah, there's no,
You know.
yeah, there's another small town that like has affiliation to like the town I grew up from called Mingo, and it's the same deal.
Yeah.
They don't even have a gas station. It's just the sheriff that happens to live in that town.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'll check on you when I wake up and before bed. That's it.
No
Yep.
doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool,
So,
man. Go ahead, Lou.
no, I was just gonna, I guess, keep going on. I guess what was your first band, and like I guess how did you meet those guys and get into
So
all of that?
the first band, and this is probably where like I really got to kind of meet you know everybody that's kind of in our surrounding music area and circle and stuff like that. Was my first like I would say first actual band, Intentions. I kind of knew Jesse and I had hung out just kind of in passing because we both had similar friend groups, but nothing really ever mentioned of music. But we were all just kind of met online. I mean, he was from Altoona, Dominic was from Boone, Kyle was from Boone as well too. So like those two had a band called Stand by Your Anchors together. They did. I don't know if you guys, if Brandon, I don't know if you remember them at all or
Yeah,
anything.
I played the Battle of the Bands against them with my first band, Engage This Nightmare, and they beat us. I'm pretty sure, but either way, those guys were something.
Yeah.
Shout out
So
those guys.
so it's funny is that band. So we all kind of met online. Oh, and then I guess I always forget. And then our first and the only other second guitarist we had, Jake.
Hmm.
He and I, same deal. Kind of met in a friend group and realized we both liked playing guitar and meshed well playing together. Um, but it all actually kind of formed on my 19th birthday. We had our first practice that we were all just kind of like,
Was that at the
yeah, this is
barn?
cool. This is fun. Yeah. So yeah, so we used to. Fun fact: we used to practice in my dad's shed. As we had the majority of our practices, and like during the winter time, we would each take turns, like every single week, of who's buying the diesel fuel to
Keep
fuel
the
the
heater
propane
going.
heater to keep us
Hmm.
somewhat not freezing. So like,
That's
yeah, that
enough
was
incentive
always
to keep yourself going and write some good music. Like we got to get
yeah,
out of here as soon as possible.
absolutely, yeah, definite humble beginnings. And then we started. We got a couple solid songs down, and so okay, so I guess we're doing this, and made arrangements to. We recorded our first single at the establishment with Griffin Landa. When that was downtown. Um, it was interesting because we we didn't make a public Facebook page or anything until we had any sort of recordings or anything like that done. And like, you know, none of us really have roots to anybody in the surrounding like Des Moines area music scene whatsoever. So out of nowhere, we just kind of made our public Facebook page, released a song, and it just kind of popped out of thin air almost. So like it was kind of an interesting response because it wasn't at that time too, and you know, during those, you know, 2012 2013 era, like it was a lot of bands that were kind of chasing that like After the Burial, like Veil of Maya, like early Veil of Maya sort of sound, and then, you know, some metalcore-ish band with, you know, clean singing. There really wasn't anybody doing it, anything like that. So I know it was I don't want to say some mixed reviews on it, but it was definitely a surprise.
It was really funny when I don't know if you remember this, but when you guys first released your EP, it came out on iTunes
Yeah.
early before the release was supposed to happen, and I bought it because I just I don't know, I just happened to look it up, and I've known you guys, and I was waiting for it, and I looked it up, and it was a couple days early, and I made a post on Facebook about it and shared it, and Jesse messaged me, was like, "Hey, dude, can you take that down? Because that's not supposed to be out for a couple days." And it was just like, well, that was like the last thing I ever bought on iTunes that I remember. And it was just so funny
That's
looking back
funny.
on that memory.
No doubt. And like, but yeah, like the majority of people know us for us being a 4-piece, but we actually had, you know, Jake played guitar for quite a while, and then had left the band. But before that, we played our first show, and there's still a recording out there of like the guy that did who played bass and sang.
I was
So,
going
like,
to ask who that guy was because I
his
didn't
name-
recognize him.
His name was Anthony. Yeah, so it just wasn't working out really, so we just kind of decided to part ways kind of after that show. And we had kind of had Dominic in the works, or the idea of him, because like, you know, he and Kyle went to school together, we're in a band together, they know each other,
Mhm.
and he showed up one day, and just so I could meet him, and he pretty much showed up knowing all the songs. I'm like, okay, you're in.
Oh yeah.
Is he doing
That's cool.
anything these days?
Musically,
Yeah, I thought he was in a
little
project a
bit.
while ago.
I know he and I were chatting about a week or so ago, and I know he and Jake have been hanging out and kind of doing some things, and like we've talked about doing some things down here too. It's just all timing, you know. But yeah, if anybody knows Dominic or has ever worked with him, there is not a single person like him on the planet. He is 100% one of a kind.
Well, cool, dude. I hope that works out. I mean, Jake's a really good guitar player. I've always been dumbfounded
Absolutely.
by how all the stuff he writes. He's
He's
like-
one of those guys that like shit just kind of comes natural to.
and he writes those really fast, like early era style riffs. It's just like I don't get it, man. Props to you if you're
When he
listening.
discovered Era, he just kind of jumped in head first.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, you guys did that for a while, and I mean, you did one single after the EP, Vices, right?
Yeah, which that's kind of interesting. So Dominic was on the recording of that, but he had left in between recording it and when we shot that video for it.
So who was in
Just
the video
kind of
playing
doing
bass?
Doing some soul searching. Say it again.
Who was in the video playing bass then?
That's the funny story about that. So we were like, oh, because you know the answer to it.
No, I don't. That's why I was like, you said it's funny, so I was like, okay, here we go.
Okay, so we're kind of like, you know, what are we gonna do? Like, we have this scheduled. What are we gonna do? So it's actually me. So
I noticed there's no face, so
yeah, there's no face. I changed clothes, and it's just shots from like the neck down. It worked out,
yeah.
but it was like it's a music video. It's got super simple, like really dark black background. It was actually filmed in Dan Swenson's parents' garage. I'm pretty sure.
It looks really good.
Yeah, he does great work.
Who did you guys record with for that one? Did you go through Griffin again?
So we've always, with that band, we always did Griffin.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, he does great work.
Oh, fantastic.
Where did you end up after that? After Intentions, what happened?
It kind of, if anybody knows the kind of, I guess I'll paint a little bit of a timeline of history. So we did a lot of shows. We were fortunate
Warped
enough to play a lot of Woolly shows and a lot of really cool local shows. We did get the opportunity to do Warped Tour, which was a really really neat thing, which like to touch on something Mark Leon said in his, the rules for what you have for like an opening band for that whole contest thing or whatever it was, like it's so strict on time. Like you had to have we had everything like planned and mapped to like down to the second of like how much a lot of time we have to do
Mm-hmm.
every single thing. And fortunately enough, we didn't have any hiccups, but like it went quick. It was super cool.
And you guys weren't playing to like back. Well, actually, you might have been. You were
We
playing to
did.
like
We were.
clicks at
Yeah.
least, right? Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, we had some. So like with a lot of the intentions, like live stuff, like after Jake left, there was just like some guitar doubles that were in there, sub hits, and then kind of some synthy stuff that, I'm pretty sure Kyle ran off an iPad and like a little mixer that was like I think it was this app called One Track or something like that.
And you guys just played to him instead of everybody having in ears.
Yep.
There you go.
We were still broke back then.
Well, hey, if it works, it works. I mean, that's how I've always done it too. If you've got a competent drummer who can can trust and play to the clicks, that's all you need.
Yeah,
so.
Kyle's a super solid drummer.
Mm-hmm.
He's good at
the
staying
Terminator,
on beat.
man.
He's just tight, yeah. And he's just, I think he has a very meticulous personality. So I think it's just nothing but kind of help his case in that matter too. But yeah, from there, I mean, life just kind of happened. I mean, we did our first tour with Words Like Daggers, and like it was a good time, but like everything that went wrong on that tour, like went wrong. Like we missed the first date because like on the way to Omaha, like they were traveling in a van and trailer. We had we just traveled in kind of my SUV. We made it I got an oil change. Now never get your oil changed at Walmart. One mistake I will never make again. We made it to the Stewart exit and blew a rod out of my engine. Like it was bad. So we had to have my car towed, and then Jesse's dad was gracious enough to get us a rental. And then we, carried on with the next couple of dates, and then we got to St. Louis. And I remember seeing, like, with that St. Louis date and kind of where it was, like, there was a bunch of people that had commented on it, like, hey, watch out, And surely enough, after our date in St. Louis, we made it, like, basically got to Nebraska, and the guys in Daggers called and said that, our van door just got drilled, and there's a bunch of gear that just got stolen. One of your guitars got stolen. So like it sucked. It sucked to kind of get robbed and like lose my guitar like that. But like it was there's guys in that band who lost way more stuff than I did. I think they took like Dan's textbooks. I'm pretty sure got stolen, and just their pillowcases because they like took their pillowcases and filled them up full of stuff that was in the van and stuff. So
did they find that guitar that was taken from you?
No. Oh, because that was when we worked together. I think I got sent that link, right?
Yeah, that's maybe I'm misremembering if they found it, but yeah, I feel like I remember something like
there
that.
There was somebody reached out to me and said that there was a ring that in St. Louis for a bunch of thefts and similar break-ins like that got busted. So we got sent a link to basically sift through hundreds of pages of stuff. I mean, there was some musical instruments, nothing really worth much, but a lot of like purses, bags, phones, laptops, things like that.
That would have been a Cinderella story for you if they would have found it and you would have been able to get it back. Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
Unfortunately, there's a similar Cinderella story that happens like that.
Fortunately, actually, but yeah.
Fortunately, but unfortunately.
Yeah.
So then that following May, it was actually, I don't know why I weirdly remember it like this, but the day that BB King died, day, year, everything like that. The day before that, I'd played a show. It was a Devil Wears Prada show at Woolies, and I was having some door lock issue with my vehicle at the time, and I had a lot of my gear still in my car. And I remember I go downstairs to go to work, reach down to grab my aux cord, notice it's gone, and I turned around and my entire backseat is completely empty. So like I got robbed. I lost my first Mesa triple rectifier, a guitar boat that had 3 guitars in it that got stolen, and some cables and a bunch of shit. So like it sucked. And like worst of all, like the guitar that got stolen in St. Louis was this LTD 7-string that I had. Because when we made Vices, like it was in a different tuning on a 7-string, so like it required another guitar on the road at that time. But so I was borrowing my roommate's guitar at the time that was in that boat. So, and I remember, and he was gracious enough, like, to, let me use it. And I remember I was sitting there with the cops after I realized all my stuff was stolen. He pulls up for like coming home from work, and I'm sitting outside with them. I'm like, "Yep, it's stolen."
Now I gotta break the news to him.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I bought it.
shit.
So I like, last minute, and there was other shows coming up, so I like last minute bought a 5153 head, and then replaced his guitar, and then a couple other things, and then a couple of months down the line, so like it was just kind of one thing after another kind of happened. I know I'm kind of veering off from the intention subject a
No,
little
you're
bit with
good.
it, but we got robbed twice. We did a ton of shows locally. We did a small tour run. Time to what's next. It was kind of like a what's next sort of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody was starting to kind of be in different spots in their lives, and we eventually decided to call it quits. And our last show was, I believe it was at the Rock Shop. I believe it was a Gurn Fest, but I don't remember right offhand if that's correct. But
That was a long
how
time
that
ago.
turns in, how that bleeds into the other story. So that was that. I think it was in May when my stuff got stolen, and then 2 months later, I get a call from the West Des Moines Police Department because they located two of my guitars in Illinois. So like whoever had stolen all my stuff, like the head was a lost cause. The LTD MH1000 that I had, which I was happy that was one of the ones that came back out of everything, minus like obviously my roommate's guitar, just because like I'd had that and it had been on a ton of recordings. I toured with it. That was almost at the top of the stack in on that St. Louis tour, so like it almost was gone
Too. Mm-hmm.
Shit.
And then Emerson's guitar was the other one that showed up. But they showed up and got shipped back to the West Des Moines Police Department the day of that last show. So like I got to take the two guitars that got stolen from me, and I got to play them one last time for that set, which it was neat.
That's really cool. Shout out to the West Des Moines Police Department for doing something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for finding most of my shit. Some of my shit.
I'm gonna take this head. This is mine now, and we found the
Right.
other stuff. Cool.
Yeah. And then from there, I mean, kind of like Brandon said in his intro, like, it got around that, we weren't playing anymore, and, I got asked to play. That's when the guys in Mainstay asked me to play a couple of shows, and it turned, I got along with them all really well. I ended up hanging out for a couple of years. So that's pretty much been the story for a lot of the things I filled in for. And then eventually, like, I always had that itch to kind of do my own thing, and that's when I met Blake Letelier.
How'd you meet him?
So just through Facebook, I just hit him up and said, "Hey," because I saw that he'd posted some drum videos, and he lived in Des Moines. I think he just moved here. So I was like, "Let's link up." And it turns out we were like 3 blocks away from each other, or somewhere super close. So we started hanging out and started recording the Arborist stuff. And that all kind of happened really quick. So it's like I walked downstairs and he's got, his E-kit set up, his Axe-FX computer. I'm like, oh shit, you're ready to go.
You didn't expect that. You're like, oh shit.
No, I didn't at all. And then
Yeah.
he and I just like meshed really well. So that band, that was a fun thing. It was me, Blake, Ethan Ball from Iron Sights from Omaha, and then Dylan Jensen, who was in Wither Decay. So like it was a really, really kind of a neat group. We released one song, and then we had an entire EP recorded and basically done, just not mixed and mastered. It's still just kind of sitting in my email file or whatever. It just another one of those things where it just, with the commute between Omaha and Des Moines and everybody's schedules, it eventually just didn't end up working out.
Send the files. But yeah, no, that
Yeah.
I'll send them to you.
I really enjoyed that project. Everybody involved was really good.
Well, and then
So-
there's that we did that like short run, and then I think
We played with you guys at the Ankeny practice spot.
something happened, like a date got screwed up or a venue got screwed up, and then we ended up doing it in the practice spaces in Ankeny in that big room, because at the time Blake and I ended up moving out there, and we were the first tenants upstairs. So we had, I believe at one point we had 4 different rooms, all in that end corner. So like, when we put a lot of money and work into them, so whoever has those rooms, you're welcome. for the wood floors and carpet and nice paint.
Yeah, dude, it was a sweet setup. It was a really cool show.
It was like
I did.
first and only show that happened there because it got
Well, I thought you guys did a second one that was
the
it got
second.
crazier.
Okay, the
It
second
got
one,
crazier
yeah,
than
got
the first
shut
one.
down.
Yeah.
Didn't you do one there, Brandon?
Well, it was with them. It was for
Okay.
I think our
What's
album
that?
release. It was one day that we did that. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But
Yeah, yes, I think that was it. Because then we and
Okay.
that show got put together like like super last minute.
mhm.
I think we were like, fuck it, let's just have it in the space. And then it was us. And I thought of Hardship. That was before I was ever in that band. And us, Hardship, you guys, and then I think
Reddick played.
Your
Yeah, I
Last
was gonna say
Chance from
Reddick
Omaha
was
came
there.
too. Who?
I think
Reddick?
Reddick played that show too.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
I'll have to look up the flyer too. I can't remember anymore.
Yeah,
It's been
that was
too long.
that was just a fun show. Just a sport, and then decent amount of people showed up for what it was. It was just cool. And I think there were some people in the spaces that just heard it going on, like, oh shoot, we'll go upstairs and take a look,
Yeah. Hopefully we didn't interrupt anybody's practice time, and that's what happened. But yeah, I know it sounds like it would have gotten wild. We know our people that go to shows.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah. I'm sure it got a little disruptive.
Well, cool. Yeah, you guys did that for a little while. I know you guys played you played more than that show, didn't you?
Yeah, we played a show at Wooley. I think we played a show at Wooley's. A couple of decent ones in Omaha. I will say, we used some tracks and different things with that. And I will say, our very first show, like we were on stage and it was like delayed by like a half hour because our click kept coming out of the monitor.
Oh no.
So it was like the biggest. I don't want to say buzzkill at the time. And Ethan was like super sick. Ethan actually didn't do vocals our first show until like the very end of the set. It was Peter Barnes, if any of you know him from Omaha.
Mm-mm.
No.
He filled in what he's in
He was able to learn your guys' set that fast.
oh yeah.
That's
and did
impressive.
vocals. Yeah, so
Cool.
what band he's playing in some band with what's that dude from Superior.
There's a couple of them.
Vocalist.
Oh,
It
you're
just
talking
escaped
about
me.
Cat's Claw.
Cat's Claw, yeah, so he does guitar in Cat's Claw.
Well, cool. I mean, yeah,
Well,
that's
that was the main that I could that you'd probably recognize him from like currently.
Very cool,
And then
yeah.
Ben Better, I think, is what the band that he was doing at the time when he filled in for us. But it was super cool for him to do it last minute. I know it killed Ethan to not be able to do play his first show, but Ethan's old band Iron Sights, they ruled. If anybody got the pleasure of seeing them.
I don't think I ever actually got to
never
see
did.
them, but we talked about them on a previous episode, and I said the name wrong. I said Monsters, and that's the name of the EP. But I really enjoyed that, and then yeah, I've always thought he was a really good vocalist. Who's he with now? He's in a new band these days, right?
Oh,
Is
he's in Wither Decay, which I
Yep.
think before it was Wither Decay, it was another name, and it was originally Ethan.
Hmm.
So technically, Ethan was the original vocalist of that band. Then Dylan did it, and then some guy named Grant. I think I don't know. I didn't really know him at all.
I'm not
They've
sure
always
who
been
it is.
very impressive. Even
There's so much talent. Yeah, there's so much talent in Omaha. It's ridiculous. I'm
I
not
would
saying there
definitely
isn't Peter,
agree on
but like I don't know. Omaha is just a different city, man.
yeah,
that. I definitely agree on that. We played with a lot of different bands there, and from there, when I was in Drowning Life, it was always really good.
Blessed or the Merciless was always one that I liked a lot. That we played with a lot in
People
Omaha.
come out there. That's just the thing to do there. It's awesome.
They got some cool venues too. Dr. Jack's was one that I thought was really cool with their outside stage. I'd never seen that until
I don't
last
think
couple
I
years.
never played Dr. Jack's. I think we played
the
Lookout
Hideout.
Lounge,
Yeah,
which
mhm.
Lookout Lounge, and then I think it was just in my head a second ago, but then some like Irish bar with a stage. I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head. But then there was the waiting room. We never played there, but like there's a lot of I think that's their like Woolies of Omaha.
Mm.
A lot of neat shows in there.
So after Arborist kind of stopped doing stuff, you started doing
Yep.
more fill-in stuff, right?
More
when
filling, so I was like
yeah.
back like helping out the Mainstay guys for a while, and like I said, and then eventually just became not a thing. Everybody's schedules, weren't lining up, and I think people are just starting to lose interest in it. And like, yeah, I kind of want to do something else.
So were you on the recording for the main state EP?
No. So they
Okay.
had that recorded and done before I was. So the last song that was released is the only thing on it of theirs. I am.
The one that, yeah, the most recent one that Jake
we
released.
we did the video and stuff for, yeah.
Cool.
And then I just took a break from playing live, kind of like how I am right now. And then, well, I mean, would hit, so no one was playing live. But I was just kind of sitting here in my basement, and just playing guitar, and I just felt like I was hitting a wall. And I liked so much how Blake and I worked together with being able to map everything out and record it, and not, be on someone else's dime and pressure of like having to record things and get things done. But it's a lot easier when none of that's a factor and you're kind of in your own home, and you can kind of hone in and get to more of that creative spot a lot easier. So then I started kind of dipping a toe into recording. Which, fun fact, like, I had not bought my first computer until I was 27 years old. So like I bought my computer interface, monitors, and then I built
You were buying all that stuff when we were working together, right? That's when you started gearing up.
So I did a kind of a buy once, cry once, and just bought everything all at once, and then started going down that rabbit hole. And like when you start recording yourself, it humbles you very quickly.
You realize that, I can program drums, but I'm not a drummer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
as an example.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But like it also gives you more of an appreciation for anyone who's creating music, really. I don't know, I feel like I kind of came out of it after starting to kind of learn some things with a much more humble mindset, I guess.
Another thing that is really distracting for modern musicians, or at least I can say for myself, and I don't mean to speak for anybody else, sitting down, and if you're loading up a VST and you got a brand new project, you got to spend time figuring out your tone in some aspects, and that's time that you could be spending not thinking about that and just writing on analog gear. So I see the benefits of both in that sense, where you can be a modern musician and record yourself. But anyway, analog gear, I see the benefit of it in that regard. You can literally just like start it up and go, and you got your tone.
I find myself, I'm somewhere right in the middle, because I have my setup. I don't have any plugin. I don't have any like digital amp plugins. I had a Kemper at the time, and I just basically used that for my guitar tones. And then eventually, this is kind of the reason why all the tube amps. My favorite way of recording guitars is, so I have a 2-notes captor. So it's an IR load box, and then I run a tube head into that, no cab. I can record silently, and then put pedals, dial it in however I want, and then hit record. So like having that bit of a battle trying to dial in a tone and just trying different things out and layering different things, like that's part of what really gets me too. Like that's one of my favorite parts about creating. It's just kind of that struggle to kind of try and achieve that tone without just clicking a VST, which I mean has its place, not knocking it whatsoever. I just appreciate the little bit of fight back that you get with some of the analog gear, and then doing kind of a hybrid digital tube setup is just, I don't know, I think it's like the happy middle ground with it.
With your collection, that totally makes sense for you to just like go through and get the DI, and then you could be able to reamp with any of your stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, and I had when I got that box, like the captor, like I had a couple of heads, but after that I just kind of dove like head first, and I just started buying stuff. I'd see a good deal, had money for it, bought it basically.
Well, the more heads you buy, you can eventually amass that to where you can be like, hey man, like you want to send me stuff, I can reamp it through my nice head and stuff like that. Just give me a couple bucks.
Yeah, I've thought about doing that, because it's just like, it's not like I'm not down here anyway in my spare time just dicking around with my amps. Like this little guy here, though, this is probably one of my favorite amps to blend with everything. It's just a cool little amp, and it sounds good layered with anything.
I've seen the light of the Dark Terror for a number of years. Patrick Owen, my friend, always used to run.
Yeah, Patrick Owen and we've talked about how awesome that amp is.
He always ran oranges. He I wasn't always so super impressed with Oranges until I met him, and just he got so much out of the Dark Terror. So yeah.
And yeah, and that's kind of was for me. I slept on Orange for a long time, just because like the only time I really had was able to play on one was at a Guitar Center if I had one. But it's not even your ideal setup. It's not. It's just you grabbed a cable, you plugged it in. There's no noise gate, overdrive pedals, nothing to really help sculpt it. So it's just kind of meh.
Boomer rock.
So like I wanted to try something different. Got this, absolutely loved it because like this amp and then the Fortin 33 is it just does something. It just does something to that amp. Used it in a hardship practice. I was like really maxing out the volume, so that's when I bought the TH30 down below because it's the exact same amp, just a little more power.
Mm-hmm. I know you love being loud. You got that like Master Flames amp in you.
Yeah. But yeah, to get on back on the band subject, but I think I posted a picture of like my gear or something like that, and then Danny messaged me basically like, "Hey, you're not doing anything. You want to come play?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I was like, "Sure." I remember them playing that show at our practice space, and I was like, "Oh yeah, these guys are." I listened to their music and loved kind of that first like melodic hardcore EP they did because like that's kind of where a lot more of my interest had started kind of veering. Of like the stuff like I like to listen to, like Counterparts, Ghost Inside, you can go on and on with it. So I said sure, and I linked up with Greg to start learning the set, which I think I'm gonna touch on some of Danny's points here too that he did in his. I never really Greg's a quiet guy. I had passed him at so many shows. We both worked at Valley West for the longest time, never spoke to each other.
Where did he work at Valley West?
He Pro Image.
Okay.
He did Pro Image. And then yeah, he started messaging me, sent me some videos of stuff I need to learn, and again, like he lives not that far away from me, so he came over here, we jammed, and we really hit it off. Greg is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He's just the nicest dude. So then the first show I played with those guys, Danny, I think, lightly touched on this. So it was me, Rob, our bass player, that was his last show, and then Mason, and then myself, and then Danny and Greg. So it was my first show, Mason's first show, and Rob's last show. So it was kind of interesting.
That is pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. And then like you said, we ended up things weren't working out with Mason, and then Austin joined up, which I thought was cool because I was like, I've always admired his drumming. It's gonna be awesome to kind of get the opportunity to play with him and write some music. And then eventually we brought in Donald Hallmeyer, and he is a phenomenal bassist. And yeah, played some shows, and I actually have the better part of a Hardship EP on my computer that unfortunately hasn't gotten a chance to see the light of day. But, I mean, who knows? That could be something that gets, released at some point.
Cool. Yeah. No,
Cool.
I just repeat what you said, and I've said it before too. Austin, if you're listening, man, you're a phenomenal drummer. Love watching you play. Keep it up, always. Yep. So, what was moving on after that? I know that, like, after that point, you continued on with your mercenary work, and you ended up in Exodia for our EP release show or debut show.
Yeah, I did. So I was doing, I was doing the Hardship thing at the time, and then I got asked to do that was a super last minute thing. Like
you pulled it off, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I had was it a week, 2 weeks?
It was pretty close. I mean, especially just being able to learn from like videos and MIDI.
Absolutely,
so.
I'm not a deathcore guitarist. Not at all. So but it was a lot of fun. It was nice to kind of dust off a 7-string because I hadn't really played one in years, and it was fun. Like, finally get scratched off my list. I got to at least play a set with Brandon.
Yeah, I know.
So many different bands just kind of back to back.
Clayton always used to ask us, when are you guys going to play a show together? When are you guys going to start your band? Just like,
all the time at work. Oh yeah. So it was cool to be able to do that for a show. That's for sure.
I don't think I've ever broken more strings in my life in a band than
Yeah, you did.
than my short time in Exodia. It happened like 4 different times in the span of that me being in that band. It's just
Well,
like I don't know what's going on.
And there's that goofy picture of me from that set of me like kind of laughing, pointing at it, where my face looks like the Scream mask.
Where I'm leaned down trying to play guitar at the same time, and like, yeah.
Gosh, that was funny. I remember, and it was roasting hot in there.
Because we played multiple times too, like, or no, we didn't play multiple. It wasn't the music video shoot. No, that was so much worse. But
yeah, and I mean, I remember from just working with you, you could stand there and be dripping in sweat.
Logan was there the night that we did the music video shoot. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I've played there a couple times. Yeah, that time was hot.
And I broke a string that night. I'm pretty sure too. So
yeah, because I think you had to stop to put another one on or something. I don't remember. You had to stop for a second. I
had to leave the room a couple different times too because it was so hot. It was just unbearable. We played that song like 5 different. Anyway, that's not the point. But yeah,
that's funny.
That's crazy. But is there? I don't know. Is any other bands that we're missing? I guess. Otherwise, I had another question not pertaining to that.
Not particular. That's kind of the main bullet points on all the bands on like I guess my band history.
All right. I guess back to gear because you're kind of a gear guy.
Yep. Absolutely.
What is it? Is there anything that you're like, I really need to have this, but I don't own it yet? Like, is there anything like that you're out there? You're like, I need this.
Well, yeah. I mean, at this stage in the game, it's like
it never ends.
It'd be something stupid. It'd be like. A diesel VH4 or Wagner Hubershaw, something crazy.
We're talking thousands now, yeah.
Or I thought about buying. I've looked at like an Engel, not Savage, because I have an Engel Ritchie Blackmore, which is basically a dumbed
Fireball
down.
Would be sweet.
Fireball, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ritchie Blackmore signature is basically a simplified Engel Savage, is what it is. But another one that's kind of it's a sleeper that no one really, I guess, knows about. I'll just grab it. This amp called Victory. It's a Victory Super Kraken. I actually traded my Kemper for this because I wasn't using that.
Oh, shit.
I've been seeing these online.
So what it is, if I had to play one amp live and not use an overdrive, it would be this. So it's actually modeled after a Blockletter 5150. But it's a British-made one. It's 100 watts, but it's like a little bit more compact than the 5153. So I got a Quad Cortex and did obviously it kind of turned my Kemper into a paperweight.
Yeah. Are there any pedals that you think you need to have, or because you could probably?
Yeah, so this is my Desert Island pedal right here. It is. There is not a better overdrive on the planet than this, in my opinion. It's a Pepper's Pedal Dirty Tree. Mostly being because it was centered around to really work with a rectifier, which is what I've used the majority of the time and always kind of just go back to. But it just does something to it and tightens up all of the right spots on that amp. And it works for everything. But it's got TC mode, which is the mode for all 3 of these knobs, and then DT is, or I might have that backwards. It's just the single knob. So it's a Fortin 33 pedal circuit and a TC Electronics clean boost from the 80s. So it's some discontinued pedal that Meshuggah used, like on their early stuff.
Very cool.
But Quad Cortex stuff is fun. I get it. I still a tube amp guy. But how I've been using it and intend to use it if I play live, or if and when I play live, is using the power section of one of my amps and then running that as a preamp, because it just unlocks something.
Mm-hmm.
You have all your tightness you get with a digital amp, but then all of that real feel and punch from the tubes.
It sounds similar to Logan's Precision Drive. In that regard, yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I got one of those up on the shelf too. I like to collect overdrive pedals.
Did you see Rob Scanlon has his own custom pedal that's coming out? It's the Daredevil Rat pedal, I think is what it's called, and it's a fuzz pedal but it's a really unique pedal. My brother just bought one himself, and I'm curious to see how it sounds. So
The one I want to try is that Will Putney pedal that came out.
what's that one? I haven't heard of that
It's
one.
like it's an overdrive, and then I think it's part of an overdrive circuit, and then like that fuzz like swollen pickle sound.
It's Swollen Pickle.
I think it's
Yeah.
I
called
want one of
Pariah.
those
I
so
think is what it's
bad.
called.
I want one of those pickles so bad.
But yeah, I've got a swollen pickle. I want to get one of the older models of it that has kind of some of the dials instead of the switches and stuff on it. But yeah, it's a cool thing to layer. But yeah, Pepper's pedals. So that guy, he's some smaller builder that lives in New Zealand, and was building these pedals and having I think testicular cancer, and he was like building pedals in his garage. So it's kind of a neat thing. But so he did his own kind of a really neat fuzz called the meth head. So it's got this like twacked out looking priest on it whose eyes light up green when you click it on. But that's a fun one to layer with an overdrive and kind of do some like chaotic stuff. I was with some of the like the last hardship song I guess I wrote and recorded that Danny and I were really excited about. I used that a lot. I used a lot of like dual like overdrive stacking and fuzz stacking that were just sounded nuts.
We'll hope to hear some of that stuff someday if it ever makes its way out. I know that
We've talked about it. Like there's who knows? I mean, I will say I have way more on my computer that's just never been touched than actual public releases that I've done. I should probably have more under my belt and out there than what I actually do.
there's nothing wrong with having stuff in the vault.
Sure.
It'll come out.
Well, absolutely, and in a lot of respects, I'm okay if it never does too. Like I enjoy the process of making it because that's where I get on a high of like being creative and making things, and then it's done. Well, on to the next one.
That's like my favorite part of like being in a band or music is like creating it. Like
Absolutely.
I'm not a live show person. I honestly, that's my least favorite part of being in a band is having to play live shows. They drive me nuts, to be
No
honest.
doubt.
But like, yeah, I enjoy that creative and like writing it. That's where I enjoy
That's where
that part of it.
that's kind of where I feel like it's important to kind of start there. I mean, I love playing live. As I've gotten older, like it's not as important to me. And I think part of that being like I was fortunate enough to do a lot of cool stuff in my younger years, so much to the point where like I'd be okay if I didn't, you know. But just having that, and as you get older, priorities change. Logan, you're a
Yep.
dad like I am.
100%.
Congratulations, by the way. I don't know if I've told you that yet.
I think you have, but yeah, thank you. Congratulations to you on your second one, right? You had your second one, right?
Yeah. It's two. One is a lot, and it's great. But two is great, but it is life changingly different. Like I love my kids, wouldn't change a thing. But having children makes you realize why people don't have children too.
Congrats
And
on your
anybody
crotch
who's-
goblins.
If anybody who doesn't agree, you're lying.
we had the one, and that's fine. That's enough. Couldn't do it a second time.
For now, do you both mutually agree with that?
Yes, we do actually. Yeah.
Give it a while.
That's what people keep telling us too.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I kind of when we were messaging back and forth the other day, Brandon, like I was saying, because I've got a pretty demanding job, and 2 kids. Like it's been tough lately to try and get into that creative mindset and even really do anything down here. So I really haven't actually played guitar much the last couple of months.
And even in a live sense too, like I understand what you're talking about, with you both having children, the juice has got to be worth the squeeze. You don't want to leave your family and practice with sweaty dudes and all this shit for no reason unless it's worth it. Like
it'll circle back around for me, but it'll be a little while. But yeah, I was just going through a period of time where I was like sitting down at my desk and be like, well, I got nothing. And it was just happening more often than not, and I just kind of like stepped away from my desk and I've been kind of gradually starting to try and spend more and more time, but I need to realize too that I don't always have to sit down and have to create something. Just play. That's the whole reason why you're in this in the first place. So it's been kind of a hurdle because I felt like I was on the border of losing interest in it, but then not. I don't know. I was in uncharted waters because I like I said in the beginning, from a very young age, got into music, didn't really have any other hobbies or do anything, and it's kind of carried that. I'm 31 years old, to where like this is the longest stint where I've just not really done anything, which has been a good thing too. Like I have been consistently playing music, consistently playing lives, or consistently doing some sort of committed thing for the last 11, 12 years. To where like give yourself a break, man. You know, feels
Find
good.
out, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're having a good time taking a break, man. Like
Absolutely, man.
yeah.
I picked up some other hobbies. Making my own beef jerky and
I was gonna say you smoke meats, man. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
and smoked meats.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a lot of it's oddly enough unintentional dad habits or dad hobbies that picking up.
All that amp money's going towards the dad hobbies now.
Kinda, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, between that and oh yeah, I bought a new mower and then I bought a utility tractor to tear out a bunch of stuff at my house. So like, yeah, I've
Isn't that
Oh,
funny
yeah.
how the older you get, the more exciting stuff like that is? It's like I just
oh,
got a new
absolutely.
mower. Let's go.
Well, the other part of it is too is like I'm the most able body on in my neighborhood. So like every time I'm out
You
doing
gotta
yard
flex
work and
on 'em.
things, no, they always ask, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do yeah?" So like I a bunch of elderly people around me, so it's like, well, you can tell them no. Like, yeah, I'll go mow your yard.
Right.
Well, it's funny is I got this old guy right across the street from me named Jim. I shit you not, he is very visibly, he's an old hippie from the '60s. He just sits inside, smokes weed, and hangs out with his two dogs and his parrot all day long.
He's got a parrot that says it all right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I mowed his yard like a week or so ago, and it takes me like 2 minutes. It's like it's really nothing for me just to zip across the street and do it. He goes, oh,
Mhm.
thank you so much. Will it help if I give you some weed?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
It would hurt. It's just funny. Yeah, but
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
That's my kind of neighbor right there. I'll mow your lawn anytime, bro.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it's fun. It's cool.
Hell yeah.
Well, what's next for you, my man? You got anything or exciting planned? I know that you said that you're kind
Musically?
of just chilling, but you got anything planned with hardship or anything?
There's talks of eventually we might do just like a one last show and kind of doing it right sort of thing. And Miles did our last couple of shows, and he and I've always been friends with that guy. Miles is the salt of the earth. He's fantastic. And he and I hit it off because he's there's everybody in hardship, they're dads, but Austin and I were the new dads that had very young children. Like my son and his daughter are like almost like a month to the date apart in age.
And you guys
So there
are
was kinda
here
like
in town
kind of
as
that
opposed
immediate
to
bond
being
there. So
there.
like he and I talked about doing some stuff, and I've got some gear over at my Mesa cabs are over at his place now, and a couple other things. And and then I've got and Danny, I've talked about just releasing some of the hardship stuff is just me and him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a final, like, oh, here you go. And then, and then I've got stuff that, because this always comes up in subject every couple of years is, oh, is there going to be an Intentions reunion and things like that too. So that one's more of a, not saying it's not going to happen, but don't expect it kind of thing. Because we've all talked about how we'd be open to doing like a show or two, or as like the old stuff, but it's also like we kind of want to leave it there, and kind of in that sort of time period. And if we're going to go through the effort of playing and getting together and things like that, we might as well do other stuff.
Maybe
Because there's songs and stuff that I've written and recording that are like if that band would have progressed on. So it's like I have some things that I would eventually probably like to maybe release with those guys, just to have kind of a hey, here's this for fun kind of thing.
Well, if you guys ever did do a reunion show, I can't speak for other people necessarily, but it would be kind of cool to have some old school reunion people, Justin
Absolutely.
and Brad and some other people. I don't think that would ever happen, but
I'm glad you brought Justin up because he was
Yep.
because he did a guest feature because TWR was those guys killed it. And I always enjoyed Justin's vocals, and I think we were just talking. It's like we should get a feature. We'll just do someone local, and then Justin was it, and it was just a lot of fun. So anytime he'd play, he'd come up and do his part, and it was just a lot of fun.
We always had a lot of fun playing with you guys.
They were one of the first local bands I saw, because back to starting to get to my end of my teen years, going to Des Moines more, going to a couple of shows at Vaudeville and things like that. I think Curse of Hail, I think, was one of the first bands that I saw live. It was the show at Vaudeville, and it was pretty sure it was My Children, My Bride, Dr. Acula, and a couple other bands.
Yeah, we played
Does that
that
sound
one.
right?
That was I don't know if it was My Children, My Bride. The Dr. Acula show had a lot.
It was definitely My Children, My Bride.
Okay,
we went there for that specifically. I know that
because I remember that show too. There were so many bands on that one.
I think The Life I Breathe was the first. I think that was the band that was playing when we got there.
We played with them several times in the earlier days, or whether I take that back. I wasn't in They Were Repent when that happened, but in Empire Falls was still around, and we played with them quite a few times as well. So.
Oh yeah. Yep. No, you were, because I remember, would that have been in Empire Falls? Because I remember seeing Sam.
Yep.
And recognizing him from that show. Yeah. So you guys are one of the first couple of bands I saw live coming to Des Moines. So
that's pretty crazy. And also, not to just shift to me real quick, but I do want to shout out we're back again, ladies and gentlemen.
I saw that the other day. That was kind of under a little bit different name. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's neat.
So we are in sincerity these days. Wasn't on my bingo
card for this week.
We've been at it for a long time. We've been getting an EP ready to go. I don't know how much the guys want me to say, but we did just finally announce our Facebook in sincerity. We will have a single out in the next 2 weeks. They can they can jump me if they want. But that's all I got for now. But that is really cool that was one of the first shows that you saw was us playing early on. So cool.
Absolutely. Because then I remember, and then it's crazy to kind of think about those years and like some of the bigger shows I got to go to, and like all of my friends and people that I have all these memories and things with. I'm just surrounded by, and I have no idea who they are. It's just, if you go back in time and kind of look at that, like, oh shit, what's up, dude?
It's goofy to see pictures of yourself on the side stage at Vaudeville when I've been in that position several times, so I totally get what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, so we're getting about to our time here, gentlemen. Logan, you got any more questions for our boy here?
No, I don't think so. I think pretty much covered everything.
Josh, you got anything for us?
No, I do. I was just gonna say I appreciate what you guys are doing. So it's cool because it's fun to hear everybody else kind of reminisce about those same years where you have a lot of memories and things like that, and the same sort of subject. Like, as you know, Brandon, you should take this as quite the compliment right now. Okay. When I'm at work doing my busy work, Brandon always knew me for watching my daytime trash TV or listening to it while I was doing busy work. That's been replaced with your podcast at this point.
Fuck yeah, I love to hear that. Thank you. That is quite the compliment.
No more Dr. Phil, just noise.
He's gonna take me away to one of those fucking teenage detention camps.
Or Steve Wilkos. Yeah, that was a fun one.
Well, fucking cool, dude. I love to hear that. We're having a great time. So anybody that enjoys the podcast, we're regular dudes. Reach out to us, give us some suggestions for any potential guests. We've got a nice long list of some cool people, but we love to hear it. So, all right. Well, we're getting to our time. Josh, you got any shout outs? Anything else you want for us before we sign off?
Not particularly. I guess one thing is anybody watching has Quad Cortex. I have a bunch of amp captures if you want the downloads for them.
Hit the DMs.
Hit the DMs. Get some free tones.
All right. Well, everybody, again, thank you for joining us. It's been another episode of Just Noise. Everybody have a great night. See ya.